John 5:16. Propter ea persequebantur Iudaei Iesum, quia haec faciebat in Sabbato. On account of these things, the Jews, or Jewish leaders, were pursuing Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. We've moved now from an account of the man that Jesus healed at the pool of Bethesda to the consequences, or as you might say, the fallout. We've mentioned several times that the Jewish leaders are suspicious of Jesus. They don't like what he's doing. They're trying to catch him in some kind of flagrant public sin or offense against the law. And that's the drama that's going to take center stage now, moving away from that healing. What are these leaders going to do to try and trip him up? So our first word, propter ea, if we break it down into two words, we can see where it comes from. Literally, on account of, that's our preposition plus accusative here. Propter, on account of, because of, ea, these things. That's our regular third person pronoun, third person plural pronoun, in this case, those things, from is, ea, id. These or those, sort of depending on the context, you can sort of contextually mess around with a little bit. But here, propter ea, on account of these things, because of these things, therefore, even we could just say to keep things simple. Then the other thing I want to highlight in this sentence is just this verb, persequebantur. It comes from persequor, which itself is a compound of the preposition per and sequor. I follow, a verb that probably you've seen before. It's very common in Latin. Here are the principal parts, persequor, persequi, persecutus. This is a third conjugation verb. And the most important thing for you to notice about it is that it is deponent. Quid significat deponens? Significat sensum activum sed formam passivam. Id est, that is, passive in form, active in meaning. These are always a little bit tricky because if we don't realize what we're looking at is one of those deponent forms, we can be very confused. But these Iudaei, these Jewish leaders, are not having something done to them in the passive voice. They themselves are the active agents of this verbal behavior here. Persequebantur. What shall we say in English? We could say persecute. I think it's a good rule. This was taught to me early on by one of my teachers. So far as is possible, not to translate a Latin word with its English derivative. Not because it's never appropriate to do so. Sometimes that's a good translation. But avoiding it whenever possible trains your mind to think carefully beyond a one-for-one equivalence, which can often be misleading between a Latin word and its modern English equivalent. It forces you to think of synonyms every time, and it defends you against some of those false friends where the English derivative of the ancient Latin word might not actually mean the same thing at all. So if you get in the habit of just avoiding making that connection in your translations, it's going to serve you well at some point and probably save you from an embarrassing error. So we could say persecute, which would certainly fit the sense well enough here. These Jewish leaders have power and influence and authority, and they're going after Jesus with malice aforethought. But it might be better to say something like pursued, but that's just a general rule I'd like to share with you for translation.